Hello and welcome to the Awakened Energy podcast. I'm Tom So, founder of Awakened Energy Healing and the middle wave meditation app and path of conscious transformation and deep inner healing. So if you're new here and you want to calm the mind, bring more joy, peace and contentment and calm into your life, start with a free 5-minute session below, and then you can do the app free for 30 days. Try it out and you can see all the cool stuff that we're doing and all the transformations that are taking place. But today is all about the lovely Kelly Stevely. Kelly is a business alignment coach who works with startup spiritual practitioners, helping them identify what's really holding their business back and then turning their efforts into consistent leads and by addressing both their mindset and strategy. Kelly is also a past life therapist and runs retreats as well. So she does lots of cool stuff. We're going to dive into everything that she's offering and learn a bit about her journey to where she is today. So Kelly, thanks for being here. And please, if you could just tell us a bit about your journey from growing up to the corporate world and then starting your own spiritual business.
Hi, Tom. Well, thank you for having me. Well, obviously, you've mentioned corporate world there. Yeah, I was 22 years in my corporate role with one company, and it was eventful. I was a project manager to start with, and which comes along with a lot of presentations and a lot of speaking to like high up execs, etc. Now, with everything that I do today, I love being on stage. I love speaking to live audiences, really connecting with the audience, whether that's on stage in person or whether it's actually like online. I do a lot of webinars and things. And I love it. I get excited. It really fulfills me. When I was in my corporate role, every presentation that I had came with the dread, the fear. And really, when we look into the subconscious work, it was really that fear that I've been seeing that's so common just now. And as a child, I wouldn't really say I was like that. I was quite kind of outgoing. I was quite sociable. But then that felt as if that started to be a bit of a defence. Where being in like groups and things didn't really like the silences, so I spoke instead. So everybody thought that it's Kelly, she's confident, she's outgoing, she's out there, and it was really a different story inside, to be fair. So yeah, so as I said, with those presentations, that fear, the feeling sick in the pit of your stomach, you over prepare, and it wasn't until I started working with the subconscious and actually really, it was past life regression that opened that door for me, that I really realised the root of it. When you understand the root, then being able to clear it, and that's what brings me to today, like when I absolutely love being out there and being seen. So yeah, it's been a journey. It really has been a journey. In the corporate world, I guess I used to describe it as my superhero life. I had the corporate role. Nobody knew what I'd done. It was really just it was like a separate life that I led.
Do you now look back into the corporate world and see maybe skills that you were gaining that are now being applied to your business?
Oh, massively. Especially when I started up, I really feel like, especially being a project manager, the planning. I mean, I had a plan for a plan for a plan. So being able to plan, prioritize, look at risks. And when I look back and I go, oh, right, okay, so now I understand why I learned that. Now I understand why I went into that role or why that happened. But I also think that what comes with that is the things that didn't work out as well. So you know how when you go, if something doesn't go the way you wanted it to go, and you feel that, like, you feel down about it and you're a bit disappointed, and then as the months or years go on and you look back and you go, actually, I think that probably did work out the way that it was meant to. So yeah, I think that when you look back, you really see the universe definitely has a path for you, doesn't it?
Completely agree. There's times when you think, oh, my life's falling apart. Why did this happen? It actually might turn out to be the best thing ever happened to you. So at
Yeah.
what point did you go from the corporate world to going, I can't take this anymore, and then taking that leap to starting your own business?
So really, as we said, like just what we were talking about there, when you think things haven't worked out, it was really, if I probably go back to about maybe 2015, life throws curveballs at you. Things don't work out the way you expect, and I had my fair share of hurt and things that were happening around that time. And it happened feel like years before, and I just feel as if it was just building and building. And that's really what took me on a spiritual journey, to be fair. I think like most people, I started with Reiki. I started to understand it and understand how energy worked and the benefits of really like kind of going for those sessions and really feeling relaxed. And then, well, I wanted to know more because that's what I do. So I trained and I ended up becoming a Reiki master as well. And all that stuff was great. The meditation, and actually, is obviously when you're healing somebody else, as you're channeling that energy, do you know what I mean? You're also getting the benefits yourself, and it was great. But that there was still something that was deep down. There was still something with this being seen that I still couldn't understand. So I would say that was probably the turning point for me, and really where I get introduced to this amazing spiritual community that, as much as a child, I kind of grew up with that at home. Like, my mum was always fascinated in reincarnation and things, right? So when I look back and I go, actually, I can see what was probably happening at that point. It was all starting to get integrated then. But I wasn't aware of how much was actually out there. And I think that, especially in the corporate world, it's starting to shift now, that there's so much pressure there with the corporate world of where people are looking more into the holistic side of things to be able to cope with that pressure. And that was a whole new world that opened up to me. And I really feel like folk like you and I, it's about getting that message out there to go, there is actually something else.
Yeah. And I hope through this podcast we can connect as many people as possible and share and bring a bit more unity to the spiritual community, and hope put each other on a pedestal and help each other grow and help spread messages of unity and hope, love, compassion and kindness. I would like you just to maybe tell us a bit about a couple of your past life regressions that you'd maybe done and maybe what you experienced.
Well, so there's been many. Obviously, I had done them before I had trained in it, and then I got more through my training as well, which was interesting because it's different when you go through your training. It's like, because they're then preparing you to obviously heal and take other people through it. But so some of the ones that I'd done before, I really had a big thing of, I hated studying, right? See, at school, I was good with my grades and stuff, but books, really in that, to retain knowledge, always felt like a chore. And then obviously I've done an awful lot of training since then, but it was really a past life that shifted that for me. So this is one of the lighter ones. I'll start softly. I was in, it was this really large house down in England somewhere, a lot of grounds to it. And it was only when I came out of it, I was able to kind of sketch the car that kind of sat in the drive. It was like one of those drives that you come up and round. And it was, like the black cars where the really old fashioned ones, and it was the big wheels. It was really only the kind of more well off folk that had them. So I could see all that in the drive, but I was the oldest one of like all the siblings, all my siblings, right? So every day I had to actually take them out into the garden, and I had to teach them to read and write and spell. So I was like within these books. And when I understood that, I was like, that makes so much sense of why this always feels like a chore. So when I was able to understand that and really know what I was working through, I don't know if I'd have been able to do all the training that I've done if I hadn't have shifted that, to be honest, because obviously I've trained in like hypnotherapy, NLP, and obviously past life regression and things like that, coaching, business coaching. It's a lot of studying and a lot of things to pass. And I don't think I'd have got there without actually having that realization. So, mhm.
Yeah,
But that was one of the
it's
later ones.
interesting. Yeah, because they can be quite dark as well, because sometimes you can actually experience moments of your previous deaths.
Yes. So, um, some of the ones that I've taken folk through. So, I mean, it's always a choice of the clients if they want to go through that transition of where you take them through the last breath as the transition over. One of the probably the ones of where I was really in the moment trying to decide if I was going to keep going with it was a gentleman that had come in, and when you're doing the transition, when you do the longer session, you go through multiple lives. So we're in the last one, and I'm like, right, okay, this will be the one that we transition over. And as we start getting further through the life, we knew there was something not sitting right with it. We knew that he was only getting certain information through that was helpful. We knew there was some that was really not needed. And I'll always say that the subconscious mind will only give you the information that's needed. So I knew that there was something dark with it. So as we gets through and we moves forward to those last moments, well, he's sitting in the electric chair about to get executed, right? And I'm going, do I push through or do I not? Right. So we went with it. Obviously, when it's not something like that, we'll actually take you through the last breath. We did not do that because there is no need for anybody to relive something like that. So we jumped that stage. And as we jumped over where he had actually transitioned, and you'll sit in front of like your spirit council. Okay. So he had 3 seats there, and his first guide came in, and there was some advice given, and he knew there was lessons that were learned from that life. Now, this guy's very much in spiritual. He's a spiritual like teacher and that as well, right? And does a lot in the spiritual community. And he, so as he was getting the advice, and then as we were about to invite the next one in, he was a bit nervous about it, because it's that guilt that you feel when you know that you've done something wrong. But he pushed through and we got it, and the experience was so magical. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking about it. As he was talking with his guides, and they were giving him the lessons and what he'd learned from it, and why he was in the position of helping so many people in this life, he started to describe how he was starting to feel lighter. And he was actually, what was happening was he was moving from the seat that he was in over to where his guides were, to actually become a guide. And the way that he described that transition, and the glowing light and the peace and the love that came with it, to start off with such a dark experience to come into something so beautiful, was just absolutely amazing. So it was.
So, for our listeners, can you explain to us a little bit more about guides and counsels and stuff like that? For me, like, I try to imagine it like how we have social workers in this life who will be assigned to a family to support them and just for general guidance and stuff like that. How would you sort of help describe to our listeners?
Do you know what? That's actually quite a good way of looking at it. So yeah, a lot of people think that their spirit guides are their family. Okay, they're not. Family can be guides. Uh, so I know as I was starting to go through my journey, it was one of my family members that came in to introduce me to my guides. And what I feel that was something that was just familiar for me to be able to go in and make that transition and make that introduction. But your guide will be with you from the day dot or before, right? They will be there. And you'll have one main guide, but then, so for example, I have my main guide, but then I have guides that will take me through certain transitions that I'm going through in life, or I'll have like my guides that will take me and guide me in my past life journey of teaching and taking people through the experience. But then I've got like guides for like if I was doing mediumship or tarot and things like that as well. So you'll always have those guides that are with you that are able to kind of keep you on the right path, and where if you get in yourself into a relaxed enough meditative state that you can sit with them and ask questions and get advice. But it's about ensuring that you're relaxed enough and just really trusting what comes up. With regards to the Spirit Council, when you transition over, as some of your guides will be there, but there can also be other members there as well. And that's just really when you leave the physical body and transition over, there's a healing journey that you then need to go on, because I always look at being in the human experience as like being at school. You're here to learn, and you're here to learn all the human emotions, the good and the bad. So when you're then in front of that Spirit Council, it's about giving you that guidance and advice of what was significant, what came up, and how
Would
you're
that be
taking
like
that
a
in.
life review?
Yes, yes. Yeah. And where they are then helping you connect that to what you're maybe going through in this life, or if you're looking for that life direction, just really depending what your intention was for getting into that experience.
So we're really supported more than we ever really know.
Absolutely. Every waking minute, I would say, we are supported, definitely.
And it's all maybe a bit more lighthearted than we think.
I think people can maybe reflect on it too much and get too much into it. So yes, they are there to help us. There will always be love and light with it, and they will always guide us in the right direction. Sometimes the right direction, as we said earlier, when we think something's not worked out, it actually has. So it's all I would say is trust the process.
And for anyone listening, like for me, I really don't have like a communicative like talking thing with my guides or anything like that, but I'm showing signs all the time, like in the universe, and more for like knowing, and like I know I'm supported. But some people have like a very direct line of communication with their guides. So like people are just different. So it doesn't matter if you're not directly speaking to them. I might come at different points. It's totally different for everybody and their experience. So I
Absolutely.
want to touch up on when you're getting a past life therapy and regression, sorry, and you're going into it. I started getting impressions like that I would get when I was doing mediumship during the regression. And I was getting words and stuff coming through like I would get when I was doing mediumship. Has that ever
Yeah.
happened? Or was I maybe fallen into mediumship?
Um, do you mean that when you're in the regression, that it's like a known that's just coming in?
Words, and I was getting bodily sensations, and I was getting but like how I would be shown if I was doing mediumship, I was getting the same, and they were using the same like techniques and ways to show me stuff that was happening in mediumship.
Yeah. So it would just mean at that point, that's what's been comfortable for you. I would say every single person's journey, and the thousands of these that I've done, every single person's journey is unique. The only thing that is always similar is that transition, right? There's always that similar description. But everybody gets it in a different way. Some people actually are in the memory, like they are in living that memory, and others get it like they watch it like a third person. Others get it that they watch it on a screen. Others get it that they don't actually see, and it is just the knowns that drop in, the physical sensations, possibly like kind of hearing stuff, not actually hearing it, but you know what I mean. So it is really different for everybody. And the way that I like to describe it is Because one of the most common questions I'm asked is, well, how do I know that I'm not making that up? Is it just my imagination running away with me when I see these experiences, or I feel these experiences like yourself, and you're like, that is what happens when I was in mediumship. And I always like to describe it as, if I had to say to you, imagine eating your favourite food. You would go into your imagination, you would then bring up that memory, access it, you would play that memory out in your imagination, but you would feel it. And when you feel that emotion, then you know it's a memory because you've lived it. If I had to say to you to go in and imagine eating something that you've never tried before, then you do the same, go into your imagination, but there's not a memory to access, which means there's no emotion there, or there's very little emotion. It's very different. And that's why when people have an overly emotional reaction to like films or music or places, is because something's sparking a memory. And if they've lived that before, then it brings that emotion with it.
Yeah, so you're clearing all
So
this
that,
sort of backlog of in your conscious stream.
yeah.
And there's loads of other practices that you can do to sort of clear that too. It could be like mantra chanting and different sort of visualization practices in Tibetan Buddhism, lots of stuff like that too, which is really interesting.
And that's so supportive of this. Like, it really, really does make a difference.
Totally. So Kelly teaches people past life therapy too, and one of her students actually did past life regression on myself. And I was, like you say, I was witnessing imagery, and then I was getting impressions, and I was like underwater, and I was like fixing stuff underwater, like scuba sort of stuff. And then I was getting impressions in it. It was like military, like US military. Then I was getting Honolulu, and it was like scuba. I was doing sort of military work in Honolulu during World War II. Don't know what it was. Cool stuff going on like that. And then the way that I got it said Hegseth was like Pete Hegseth, the American Secretary of War, and that's how it linked to me to know what it was at the time, because I'm very much, when it does it, it's through that association of how I'll get it and know, like when I do mediumship. So it was very interesting. There was lots of stuff coming through, lots of imagery, and the most peaceful, serene feeling, like I was being held, like it was beautiful.
And I think this is where everybody really should experience this, because trying to describe the feeling of it really doesn't do the experience justice, does it?
No, no, it was honestly very peaceful. So if anyone's interested in past life therapy, we'll have all Kelly's details below, and you can get in contact with her. But Kelly also works specifically with the subconscious, and that also relates to her past life regressions that she does. But she's now focuses on helping and supporting people in more spiritual businesses grow, do the subconscious work, and would you say remove blockages? Yeah, can you tell us a bit more about what you're doing now and how you're supporting businesses?
Yeah. So where it's really taken me is, for example, when you're starting a business, and anybody out there that knows, whether you're starting a spiritual business or any sort of business, it's hard work at the start. And it's one of them, you don't know what you don't know. And behind every business, you do need a strategy, right? I've been able to build, grow, scale, stabilize. Now, for me, you've got the strategy of the business, but then you've got your mindset. So if you can have the best strategy in the world and all the best frameworks to follow, but if you still have blocks within your mindset, you're not going to follow through with those steps that you're meant to follow through with your business. But also in the opposite as well, you could have done all this work on your mindset, been a very, very good, strong, confident place, but not have that strategy. Or how many of us at the beginning ran about going, hey, I need to post every day and need to record all the content, getting massively stressed out. That was one of the big things that stressed me out. Right, okay, I've now got clients coming in. I've got that list there. Right, who do I need to follow up with? If I get post-it notes everywhere, do I need a website? Do I need a calendar? And it goes on and on and on, right? You can be totally focused and be confident enough to be able to go through that. But if you don't have the right steps to be able to build strong foundations, don't build your business on sand, build it in concrete. And you need those strong foundations. So for me, it's about bringing those two together.
Yep, it's amazing. I can really resonate with a couple of things you were saying there. Like when you first start, you think, right, I need to post, and then I was reading stuff was like, you need to post 3 times a day. I even read someone saying you need to post 10 to 30 times a day, and I was like,
Crazy.
people are getting overwhelmed with information and content. What I found is like realness really is helping, like conversations, connectedness, realness between people and having those real conversations is what people want to see. And I feel like you don't need to post 30, 10, 3 times a day, anything like that. You need good content, really just show you, people connect with you and your energy and how you resonate and your vibes. And I feel that when you're first starting out, there's so much advice out there, it's overwhelming. So it really helps to maybe have like a coach or somebody who's been through it before. It's very crucial for you, like you said, building those layers and that foundations for that business to grow. You also touched upon people's mindset. Can you tell us what are the most common things that are blocking people from moving forward in their mindsets when they first get started?
Well, the being seen, like the content thing's a massive blocker. People, and especially with AI out there, people are hiding behind it, because it's that fear of being seen. It's the fear of judgment, the fear of saying something silly, the imposter syndrome that comes in, thinking I'm too new to this and shouldn't be in this space. People are going to call me out for it. But as you said, it's about being real and authentic to you, and people will pick that phone up and record and go, no, hold on, stop. And they go away, and then they'll come back and go, right. And then before you know it, the negative self-talks come in and they've just gave up and went, no, can't do it. So being able to go over those blocks, actually understand why your nervous system is behaving in the way that it is, if you like, when you're about to do that. And if we work just with the conscious mind, so I'll go into like the pure boring stats now, right? When you work with just the conscious mind, you get about 40 pieces of information per second, right? So that's quite a lot, right? So when you're doing your meditations, journaling, affirmations, that kind of thing, with everything that you're aware of there, great, right? So that's a lot of information that's coming in. When you go below the surface and you go into the subconscious mind takes in around 11 million pieces of information per second, right? Yes, I can see the shock on your face with that. 11 million pieces of information. Now, the subconscious drives 95% of your behavior. So when you're up here doing your affirmations with everything in the surface and trying to think your way through changing that, you're only ever dealing with the tip, right? When you go to the subconscious and you're really dealing with that system that's driving your behavior, that's where all your beliefs are, all the learned patterns, which then become stories, which then become your identity. That's what the level you need to work at. And when you start working at that level, then you layer in your meditations, your journaling, your affirmations, because they're all part of all the programs that I do. And they're great to support the work from the deeper level. And that's when you can start relearning patterns and shifting behavior. And that's what makes the difference. So when you're able to understand where that comes from and shift that, when you go to press that record button, and we all get nervous doing things that we're doing for the first time, that's fine. Understanding that that's normal, it's okay. But you can then show up being more of you. And exactly what you're saying there, it's that connection. People buy into people, and there's so much AI and so much AI scripts out there. People see it a mile off.
Yeah, you can start to hear the way people are speaking if they're reading AI now because it just sounds so similar. That is so true though, because years ago I would never have been able to speak in front of the camera. I hated being seen. I hated my picture being taken. And it was only until I started doing the internal work and looking deep down in that subconscious work that I was able to realize what it was that was making me so self-conscious. And helped me really, really get over all this. what we need to remember is you don't want to be looking back on your deathbed and thinking, why did I not give that a go? Or why was I scared to pick up the phone or do my hobby or film something or write something or create something, music, art, comedy, whatever. Like, you've got so much creative potential inside you. Don't be scared of being seen. Like, it's literally nervous the first time you do it, right? Then you get over it like so quickly. No one cares what you're doing, right? People are always passing judgments, right? Like here, left, right, center, but it doesn't actually matter, okay? What you need to do is just go for it, do it, and then you become so normalized to it. Your body, like, initially be a bit like nervous, because that's okay, because it's a protective mechanism, the nervous system. You'll feel those nerves, but then it learns it's safe. And honestly, the world starts opening up to you once you just push past that little bit of fear. It's transformative.
There was a key thing that you said there with the meditation is like when you really done the inner work with it. And I think that's the difference of doing surface level meditation and doing the meditation, whether it's from learning what those patterns are with the subconscious or the way that you do the meditation through your work, is because you're not just taking yourself to that relaxed state, you're actually doing the inner work and shifting what is there. And that's the difference. Your nervous system needs to understand that what it's learned before that was maybe unsafe is actually now okay and it's safe to do. And that's that turning point.
And the practical aspect of that, I just want to jump in quickly, of when I was sitting with the internal sensations that were going on, and I was just being aware of what I was feeling, and I was just sitting with it and just accepting it and allowing it to happen how I was feeling it. So instead of like pushing it away and it being like this little closed box, right, I was allowing it, sitting with it, and then it starts to clear. So what you're doing with meditation is you're just being aware of the internal sensations going inside. Feel the nervousness, feel the fear, feel the self-consciousness, and let it pass. It comes in one door and it ends up out the other when we just allow it. So it's like pure unadulterated allowance of what is happening in the present moment and in the internal environment. Once you start to allow, it starts to shift. We're letting go, we're opening up Pandora's box in some cases. But how you transform, it's like from the mud grows the lotus. You start to blossom into all that true potential. Your creative side, your peace, love, contentment, kindness, and compassion starts to bloom. It's honestly beautiful. And my life and how I live now is all down to meditation and doing this deep work. So I really commend you for sharing your work with people and helping people on that process.
Absolutely.
Do you tend to find, is it fear of being seen? That is the main one, would you say? Or is there anything else?
Oh, I mean, there's loads. The fear of being seen, the fear of failure, fear of success, the fear of judgment. I mean, there's like sometimes people just feel stuck. They're just completely lost. And so, I mean, the fear of being seen really comes down to, because judgment and confidence and everything comes into that as well. So a lot of them are connected, and a lot of the times what people think it is it's not, because again, they're looking at the surface level. And the key thing that you said there was like, is that awareness. It's being aware of what's there. So we can't shift what we don't know. So having that awareness, and everything that I build in my business is over 3 different phases: is awareness, transformation, and empowerment. Because even in the business side of things, the awareness is the business clarity. You need to be aware to build the strong foundations, and whether it's mindset or strategy, absolutely. So yeah, a lot of it comes in where it overlaps. And you're right, everybody judges. Now, I'd done a quick video last night when I come off my live, and I look at it and I go, I look absolutely shattered. It was about 11 o'clock at night. I had just done a 2.5 hour live, and then I went on a call with somebody for about an hour and a half after it. So I was knackered, and I'm like, I don't care, I'll just post it anyway. But I was somebody that went, my face will never be on my business. That's what I used to say, my face will never be there. And my face is everywhere now. Because at the end of the day, if you look at it, everybody's map of the world is different. So if your favourite colour was red and mine was green, and I wore a green top, you're going to judge me on your favourite colour being red and go, I don't know if I really would have preferred that in red, because that's your truth. Whereas my truth is green, so I would prefer the green. It's as simple as that. And when you start to look at judgment like that, then let people judge at the
Yeah,
end of the day.
honestly, like, when people used to say, I don't care what people think, and sometimes they're the people that care the most about what people think. But
Yes.
sometimes there was truly people who like went around the world and they didn't even think about what people thought of them. It didn't really affect them. But it was because they'd done the inner work and self-love. They'd learned to love themselves and how they are and just in the natural way that they in their being. And for me, I was lacking a lot of self-love towards myself that I had to work on for a lot of years. And now I don't mind being seen. I don't mind putting myself out there because I want other people to know that their life can be so much more fulfilling and better than if they're in like a dark place or a low place. Just by starting these practices and building that internal environment of self-love and compassion towards yourself, start there. Because
Absolutely.
if you don't feel it towards yourself, it's very difficult for you to have that fulfillment and enjoyment in the world around you externally as well.
I think you're right. A lot of people look for that outward when it really starts from the inner. And I mean, I was the same. If I look back, if I hadn't have done that inner work, if I was still trapped in my 9 to 5 job, feeling under that pressure, I was exhausted. I would have burned myself out, absolutely. But whereas we're doing that work and the opportunities that that's brought me, I mean, I'm being introduced onto stage by somebody that works with Tony Robbins. And I spend time with these people in rooms that I would never have even like dreamed of before. And the inspiring uh, Anna Mosley as well. Like she's an inspiring speaker, and I mean, coming for the kind of woman side of things as well, it's really empowering to see women on stage, and being able to speak and put their stories out there as well. And I would never have been part of that world if I had never done that inner work. And I think how different my life is now to what it was then. I mean, you're living up here, and when everything just slows and calms down, it's like, what a difference.
Yeah, so what it really takes a mind to is like everything is so interdependent and it's causal as well. So if we stay doing the same things, nothing is going to change. You need to bring in different things or try different things or start that change because they allow those different doors to open. If you're sitting at home waiting to find the perfect husband or wife just to come to your door and you're just sitting there every day and not connecting with everybody, communicating with everybody or whatever it is, it's not going to happen. You need to be going out there, working on yourself, going on dates, do different stuff like that using that analogy because everything is interconnected in that aspect. So if we want to change and we want to have a better internal world and external world, we have to actually do, do as in little steps at
You take
first.
action.
The action, yeah, we need to take action.
That's exactly it. And it's like, so nobody has ever grown or changed for staying in that comfort zone, right? To get out the comfort zone, things need to feel uncomfortable, right? You need to put yourself in the uncomfortable positions, do things differently, take action. And it was something that I done with my group the other night, a bit of teaching on, are you busy, but you're not progressing? Because we get a dopamine hit for doing that tick exercise. You know how you write your list and you plan your day and you go, ticked it all off, great. But have you actually moved anything forward in life or business? Have you moved that needle in any sort of way? No, because you've got that dopamine hit that you've ticked off your list. So it's about asking that question, is it really moving something? And if you feel uncomfortable and doing something different rather than the familiar, then is that actually making progress rather than staying in that comfort zone? And that's really what it's all about. And as you said, it's opening those doors of opportunity. So they actually say with every door that you open and go through, another 7 opportunities are awaiting.
It's
So
all
it's
about
about
the
making sure that
action.
it's all in, take action. And it's something that I always say to my clients, if you're sitting there going, yeah, but I can't, right? If one human being can do it, then anybody can. So it's not about saying I can't. It's about actually saying, how can I? How can I get there? And we know that 70% of people that actually work with a mentor, somebody that knows the steps to get there, are more likely to achieve their goals.
I can totally relate with that as well, because there's been times where I was building businesses and that prior to all this, what I do now, I was just so busy, but I was just busy and not getting anywhere.
Doing your task.
All the big
We've all
tales, so
been
I
there.
can relate with that so much.
We've all been there. And sometimes I still get into that zone and I go,
Yeah.
hold on a minute, ask the question, what's moving the needle? And that's why it's important. I mean, even I've got a mentor and I've got an accountability partner, because when you do get into that zone, it's important to have somebody that you can ask those questions with that will say to you, what have you done today to move forward in your business? Is it making your business money? Is it making a change in your business? And that's so key to everything moving forward.
I want to touch back on, if someone's sitting at home right now, they've got all this potential, they're so maybe creative, passionate, like they've got all these amazing ideas, but they're scared to take that step forward. They're scared to feel the emotions. They're scared to take the action, or they don't even know why they're scared to take the action. What advice could you give them right now?
If we use that kind of door example again, one, it's to take an action, opening the door. Allow yourself to feel uncomfortable, do something different, but you always have a choice. Do you walk through that door alone, or do you walk through it with support? And there is support there. And whether that's with things like what you do, or whether that's building businesses, start with a conversation. Anybody that you're ever looking to work with, I would always say should have a consultation call with you. You need to ensure that you connect with that person, whether it's in business or in mindset or healing, because who might connect with you might not connect with me, or vice versa. And it's important that that connection is right for the client, but for also like the coach or the therapist or practitioner. So start with a conversation. It's just a chat.
That's really great advice for listeners. So the first steps would be to connect with maybe yourself or a person they feel aligned with or come across, whatever the line of industry that they're in. Your expertise, are they purely spiritual, or do you have people from all broad churches coming to do your work, business as well?
I have a bit of both. Where I'm really seeing a lot of, I think we touched on it a bit earlier as well, is where the corporate world is starting to open its eyes to the more holistic way of things. And I think because that was my journey as well, as coming for that corporate into the more spiritual, I do get a lot of people that are still in their 9 to 5 and they've got an idea and looking to build it, or they've tried to start and then they're going, I don't know where I'm going, and they find me, because I truly believe that you help people that are walking the path that you've already walked. But to be honest, it doesn't matter what type of business you're in, whether you are doing coaching, doing tarot reading, selling crystals, meditation, or whether you're starting a business selling windows or real estate or whatever. The structure's the structure, the mindset's the mindset. Your patterns and beliefs that you have in your subconscious are yours. So it doesn't matter if you're spiritual or not. It's about having an open mind and an open heart of being able to understand how to move through that, how to move out of your comfort zone into that growth zone. And then the strategy of building on strong foundations doesn't matter, because the framework's the framework.
Because growing always feels uncomfortable. Look at like when you're going through like puberty and stretching and stuff like that. It's always messy. Like it's when nature isn't clean cut. It's not easy. It could be violent. It can be scary. It can be all of like those really nerve wracking experiences too. And that's just sort of how nature unfolds and how we do grow. So that's the exact same would be in business. And then when we start to put ourselves out there, you're going to feel a bit scared, you're going to feel a bit nervous, but you need to just step into that, allow the feelings, don't push them away, just sit with it, breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, allow those feelings to settle and to shift, allow them to integrate as well, because we don't want to keep bottling all that up. For me, I remember when I first started showing my face on camera and speaking to the camera, because I had another business prior to all this where I had like holistic medicines and different stuff like that. I did not show my face on any of it, very much like what you were saying. always was just like the logos, different stuff like that. I wouldn't really speak in front of the camera or anything, because I was too scared to. I didn't want to show my face.
People don't trust that. They don't build trust. And like what you were saying about that growth, feeling uncomfortable, and it was something that Anna Mosley had mentioned earlier had actually taught me that about the lobster. Right, I'm going to try and make sure that I get the figures right. So a lobster actually sheds its shell, right? And I'm sure that it does it, I think it's 21 times in its first 7 years, right? Because what happens, so obviously a lobster's got that right hard shell all around it. And when that lobster starts to grow, it starts to get uncomfortable because its shell is too tight. So it feels that uncomfort. So then what it does is it needs to go and find a space to hide, and it hides in there and it sheds its shell. And I think it takes like 2 weeks or something for it to then grow another shell back. And that lasts it until it grows that much again that it becomes uncomfortable. So it's the same thing as you said, like you can get to a very good place in your mindset and then you go to start a business and you go, the self-doubts come in, the imposter syndromes come in, what am I doing? I shouldn't be here. And that's okay. It's just then shed your shell, go into that uncomfortableness. And the programs that I do is one of my things is empowerment over dependency. It's to make sure that there's worksheets and integration booklets and meditations and things in there so that when life throws that curveball, when your shell gets too tight again, you've got the tools in your toolbox to be able to move forward. And it's not about then going, oh, I need to go back again. You've then got that there to be able to deal with what comes up. Because these things aren't a magic wand. They don't just go, right, okay, you understand now, you're like, that's it. You don't need to deal with anything that comes up. The human experience is learning. And we're always going to come up against those things. So it's about making sure that you have the knowledge, the understanding, and the tools to be able to shift past it.
I can really relate with all of that too. Part of that too is when you grow and you take that next step and everything starts changes, sometimes people in your life can maybe fall away, relationships can change, environments can change, everything can change because you're transforming so much. I always hear a lot of people saying, oh, you maybe not, you might not speak to anybody ever again, stuff like that. Right? That's not true, because just because you're changing and growing doesn't mean that you're going to lose everybody or that you have to suddenly abandon everybody in your life, okay? People around you will start to grow with you too, because when you're resonating, you're changing your level of consciousness, okay? You're more relaxed. Them being around you, they're more relaxed. You're learning all these new skills. You're more compassionate. You're more kind. You're more tolerant. People around you will start to grow with you. They'll start to come into it. They might be, especially with spirituality, if your friends are like not into any of this or they're like very atheist like I was, I would not have even entertained any of this before, okay? Like they will, it may take years, like they'll start to ask a couple of questions, they'll get a bit more inquisitive, they'll see the change in you, they'll see the light in you, they'll feel just being around you, the difference. Then they'll go, right, okay, they're onto something.
Absolutely.
They're onto something. How do I get a piece of it?
It's like, because as you said, they see the change in you and they go, oh, hold on a wee minute. And it's something one of my other coaches used to say to me is, all ships rise with the tide. And it's so true. There is some that won't, that maybe haven't let their anchors loose, if you like, and really kind of stay stuck. And that's fine because that's their journey. Always be respectful of other people's journeys. Not everybody will walk your path at the same speed that you walk. And that's okay. But always be respectful of their journey, because as much as you're on yours and you're rising, the people around you are also on theirs and they're here to learn their lessons as well. And sometimes when people maybe behave in a strange way or a negative way, that when you're going through this transformation and really all you're wanting to do is be around positivity, is try to just maybe understand that their, again, map of the world is different for yours. allow them to have their journey and be respectful of that. That doesn't mean to say that you need to be around their negativity. That's totally fine. But just be respectful of the fact that they're also on their journey. And I feel like that's really quite important to understand when you're going through yours. Sometimes when you go through it, you think, oh, everybody should be like this because you're passionate about what's happening. Just remember that not everybody's at the same place as you.
Yeah, because there's nothing more annoying than a spiritual person ramming all this stuff down your throat, and you literally don't have a single care in the world, and you're like, what are they talking about? And it's so unappealing and like distasteful for them. Like, I remember, honestly, I must have been insufferable when this all started happening to me, because I was like so excited. I was like experiencing all this stuff, and I was like experiencing all this, like, for me, like this truth. And I was getting stuff coming in, like the psychic stuff, the mediumship stuff, and the meditation. My mindset started changing. How I was perceiving the world was all transforming. Then I was like, I need to tell everybody about this. And everyone must have been like, oh, Tom, shut up, man. Like, I would have been telling me to shut up. Like, there's nothing worse, because like when people first, I call it spiritual puberty, because you're like insufferable during that stage, because you just want to tell everybody, and you're so like naive, and like at the start of your journey at that point, that you're just telling people who literally, like, they don't care. They're not ready to hear it. You're not even delivering it in a palatable way that's even going to make them want to listen. You just sound like an arse. So I don't know if you can relate with what I'm saying, but honestly,
Oh,
I must have been
absolutely.
insufferable. And
Absolutely. And the thing is because you're so excitable about it, and as you said, you're not even like kind of doing it in the right way. You're literally just like puking all these spiritual words at everybody, and you're just expecting them to understand. And you can really understand like how back in the day people get locked up for this, like because they go, is she losing her mind? Like, and I think that you can either go one way or the other. With me, because of my fear of like being seen, led that superhero life, because I had the fear of the judgment. So I was like all this wee secretive. And when I actually left corporate over a year ago now, and everybody went, oh my goodness, what you going to do? I went, oh, well, I've got my own business. I've been building it for the last like 7 years. And they're like, eh? I'm like, yeah, this is what I do because you've done that in our work. So I think that you can either really hide who you are, or, as you said, like really just try and think that everybody should understand what you're talking about. So absolutely, it's about just being mindful and trying to find the balance.
I completely agree. And I think that now, as the West is becoming more spiritual and we're taking the Eastern traditions, we need to be respectful of the Eastern traditions and their practices, their culture and way of life as well, and that we respect the place that it's all coming from. I think that we need to remember as well that it's not about the monetization, the business, it's about the message of unity, love, compassion, and kindness, and the collective sort of increase in our consciousness, our awareness and love, and understanding that everything is oneness. And as you go further on the path, you start to have these direct experiences, and you realize this for yourself, and in your direct experience, you see it too. But I feel that our listeners could really benefit from connecting with you. Just say they're starting like a Reiki business, or they've got ideas, or maybe they're wanting to go into past life regression therapy or hypnosis, or even they want to maybe learn tarot reading, psychic stuff too, but they're like just something a little bit holding them back. How do they connect with you?
So I always offer a free clarity call as well that you can book through my website, which is saturntherapies.com. You can find me on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. You'll find me on them as Kelly, as a business alignment coach. But if you go to saturntherapies.com, everything's there. Book a call, let's get a conversation, see where you're at in your journey, and then what that support looks like, and whether that support is with me or I can give you advice of where you need to be. Because starting a business can be a lonely journey, and it's important to make sure that you connect with the right people, that there's a community there as well to be able to connect in and ask questions and not feel so lonely. So take the action, start a conversation. That's really where everything begins.
Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in today with Kelly and myself. I think there's been loads of great advice. about the subconscious work, about taking that step forward. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, I've wanted to do that for ages, go and do it. Right? This is your sign. If you're listening to this now, this is the universe telling you, go and do it. Take the step into fear, feel those feelings, be uncomfortable, be embarrassing, let it all happen. It's okay. You're going to survive. It's not the end of the world. You're going to get through it. And honestly, the feeling after this, it all levels out is incredible. You've got so much potential. And I just put my hand on my heart and say, go and do it. You can do this. We got you. Reach out to us. And there is nothing more important than the connection with others as well. So remember that on your journey. You're not here alone. So thank you everybody for listening. All Kelly's details will be below. If you want to connect with me and Midway, the app, learn to meditate, all the cool stuff we do, it'll be in the description below. But we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Bye.